or down the hall. Let's stay here where we are. Let's go down the aisle and start with this game. Because before we can look forward with the Steelers, we have to look back at what was an absolutely crushing loss on Sunday.
I was on this show the Friday after Tampa Bay lost to Atlanta in a game where Atlanta was eliminated, didn't have Drake London, had 19 penalties. I said it was the worst loss any team had of the regular season. I think last week's loss for the Steelers in Cleveland was the worst loss any team had in the regular season. It was all in their hands. You win it, you're set, you're good, you get a bye, you can rest everybody. DK comes back for the playoffs. Instead, it was their worst offensive output of the entire season. And what's really worrisome for me is without DK Metcalf and without Calvin Austin and with an injured Darius Washington, suddenly the season comes down to this one drive. And when you build a team, you do so at the combine, you're working on that. You do it in March in free agency. You do it at the draft. You build it all training camp. To go to Marquez Valdez-Scantling, a December acquisition on the 3 biggest plays of the season, back to back to back, that tells me that they're in emergency mode.
Yeah.
And I have no confidence that this offense is suddenly going to snap their fingers and be back to the one that we saw beat the Dolphins on Monday night a couple weeks ago.
You were on the field for that drive.
Guys, picture it. I'm standing there. I'm on the Brown sideline. And then I look up at the clock, 1:44 to go. And I'm like, oof, Aaron got the ball. I might have to run across the field back to the Steelers sideline. So I'm thinking in that moment, Aaron's going to do it. Then he hits Freiermuth. And he hits Freiermuth again. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm on the wrong sideline. And then the back-to-back throws to MVS. And you're thinking, how did they just blow that? Going into that game, all the Steelers players I spoke to said, we have a chance to completely put this to bed. We got ourselves in this position, but we can take care of business. And when you walk away from that game, now you're thinking, okay, are we looking at an offseason where if the Steelers lose, are they going into next offseason with the same questions they had in this offseason, which is who's our quarterback? Because this very well could be Aaron Rodgers' last game, and Mike Tomlin has said, I will do everything in my power to make sure it's not.
That last play that you saw, which was the 4th down pass to MVS in the corner of the end zone, that most certainly would have been to DK Metcalf as he is there.
Right.
But there's no point in relitigating that. He's not going to be there Sunday in a game they need to play. So, J-Mac, how do the Steelers win this game without him?
And I think when we look back at that game, it wasn't just the last 3 plays to MVS. It was throughout the game that they were trying to find a way to get explosive plays down the field. And Himbo gave me the stat. Aaron Rodgers, 35 explosive pass plays. 15 of them have gone to DK Metcalf. Throughout the course of this game, he is looking to go to that one-on-one look, but he couldn't. These guys couldn't get open. This one's Adam Thielen, one-on-one, can't get open against Campbell. These were those opportunities. So now the catch and run, the same thing that we've seen go to DK, he wasn't there. So you look at this offense for Arthur Smith, their coordinator. How do you go into this game and find a way to manufacture guys open? Freiermuth, as you said, is a great option. But with the receivers you have to make them better. Aaron Rodgers likes to line his guys up, know where they are, and be able to pick a matchup and go to it. You're not going to win any of those matchups. You have to see more movement, guys going in motions, one guy standing behind a guy in a stack, 3 guys close together, trying to force the defense to communicate and will guys open, because one-on-one, they're not going to beat Nate Wiggins and Marlon Humphrey and those guys on the outside, Kyle Hamilton included.
It's not just the fact that they are without DK. Now they're down Darnell Washington, huge tight end. Going into
literally and figuratively.
Literally.
Yeah.
But also in that game, they did not have Calvin Austin, a speedy guy as well. There's hope that not only will Austin be back, but potentially TJ Watt. So we have to stay and watch that. But there could be reinforcements coming.
The Lamar Jackson of it all, we will wait and see if he practices today. That's an enormous storyline here. Will he or won't he play? We'll start getting some answers to that as we work our way forward. And then to me, that's a little picture stuff. That's what this game, how it will be decided. To me, the bigger picture here is almost a little more interesting because I think it gets very noisy very quickly around whichever team loses on Sunday night.
The 2 longest tenured coaches in the NFL going up against each other in games where these seasons were going in limping into the playoffs. Regardless of the winner, they're going to be underdogs in that wild card round at home. That said, the loser is almost more interesting than the winner because then we wake up Monday morning and say, have we gotten the most we can out of John Harbaugh and Lamar Jackson this era? Is it time to part ways? In the same breath, what's the definition of insanity? Doing the same thing over and over and over again. Do we think that the Steelers are suddenly going to have another chance to go to the Super Bowl next year with Mike Tomlin? What will be fascinating is the discussions internally with both, because neither one of these coaches are just going to wake up and be told, hey, you're out of work. It's going to be a discussion between the coach and the ownership whether this is something they want to continue with. And we've had no indication from either side that both of these coaches definitely want to come back next year if they don't make the playoffs. I would add this. Coaching opportunities for both of them, sure. Harbaugh, Tomlin, there will be a line for them to be interviewed to be head coaching candidates. Television opportunities for both. Adam Schefter hit it this week. I'm going to double down on this. I know Mike Tomlin has a seat at multiple tables when he wants to retire. John Harbaugh has worked the Super Bowl pregame show the last 2 times NBC has had the Super Bowl.
Right.
John Harbaugh would be a very coveted television personality. So even if it's a year away, take some time to rest, watch the league from afar, I think both these coaches are going to be coveted as coaches and broadcasters if they're not back with their teams.
I'll tell you this. I got a guy walk up to me yesterday while I'm waiting for a sandwich and says to me, Greeny, are we getting Mike Tomlin? He's a Giant fan. And is Mike Tomlin going to be my coach? I mean, there's a little bit of that vibe out there in the air.
And you didn't tell him that you're the inside track. You know everything going on in the Giants building. I look at these two situations, and they're very different for me because on the Pittsburgh Steelers side with Mike Tomlin, to a certain extent, it's insanity, but they've never hit a full reset with Mike Tomlin as the head coach. So when you bring Aaron Rodgers in, you go get Jalen Ramsey, that was almost like a last-ditch effort with the veterans on the team, the Cam Haywards, the Watson, those guys. It has to be a complete rebuild. On the other side for Harbaugh and Lamar Jackson, you have a superstar quarterback. If that's not working, you have to decide, is it possibly quarterback or head coach? That's the issue.
The interesting thing with these two coaches is that Tomlin, everybody in league circles feels like he will be in Pittsburgh as long as he wants to be in Pittsburgh. It's his call. In Baltimore, Eric DeCosta, the GM, and John Harbaugh are next door neighbors. Like, I just can't imagine these scenarios where they're having those conversations like this is the end.
Every year, the Ravens, after the season, they get together, and it's Bisciotti, and it's DeCosta, and it's Harbaugh, and they talk about all of it, and they do it on a boat. Like, they go on a boat trip, and they discuss it all. It is nice. And they discuss what we're going to do. This makes for a very different tone and tenor of the conversation as far as the offseason if one of them is being talked about as no longer there.
Better bring along the life preservers.
I was going to say.
A couple of them.
You don't want to be on a boat in this
Don't take me
situation.
on the boat.
We'll see what happens. No, look, I mean, they're both great coaches, and they've had great runs. These things don't go on forever. I mean, they've both been there almost 20 years at some point.
The Seahawks win or tie, and they're the 1 seed. Lose, and they're the 5 seed. The Bucks or Panthers will be the 4 seed. We welcome in NFL insider Pete Schrager now. And Pete, let's start with that game. Christian McCaffrey didn't practice Tuesday. Kyle Shanahan said it was stiffness, and C-Mac said it was nothing serious. What do you expect his impact to be Saturday night?
It'll be huge, and he will play. Christian McCaffrey's a gamer, and if you've been playing fantasy football the last few years, you know very well that there's always a question mark about his availability. Then he goes out there and he absolutely dominates. I think there is a legitimate chance that Christian McCaffrey can steal the MVP award this season. I mean that. I know it's Drake May and I know it's Matthew Stafford. Neither one of those guys have significant games this weekend as far as national eyeballs go. Saturday night, ESPN, everybody watching, number 1 seed on the line. McCaffrey's already at a 2,000-yard season when you combine his offensive rushing yards and receiving yards. If he goes 1,000 and 1,000 for the second time in his career and catapults his team to the 1 seed, you better believe there's going to be some chatter before that vote becomes final on Monday when you have to submit your vote for Christian McCaffrey as the MVP. He has been that good, he is that talented, and he has that much at stake this weekend.
Yeah, it will be refreshing to see somebody else besides a quarterback win the MVP award. Peter, thank you. Just stand by for a moment.
Yeah, with the win over the Bucks on Saturday, the Panthers win the NFC South and host the playoff game. But with a loss, it won't eliminate them. Carolina still makes the playoffs if the Falcons beat the Saints on Sunday, regardless of Saturday's result. Our analytics give the Panthers a 70% chance to make the playoffs. Let's hear from Baker Mayfield before that matchup.
For us to get in the playoffs, first and foremost, we have to win on Saturday. So that's the main focus. Can't control what happens on the game Sunday, but we can control how Saturday goes, how we prepare, how we come into it, and last home game.
I don't think it changes anything. We just have to win a game on Saturday, then we'll see. We've made this bed. We understand that. We can't do anything on Sunday unless we win on Saturday.
We take pride in, we know that we can control it. So, we want to go 1-0. That's all that matters. It's easy to focus on that, easy to focus on the process. So, that's what it's all about in the locker room.
All right, Peter, that's the game you'll be on the sidelines for. Both teams not exactly dominating their way to the playoffs. What's the biggest concern for you for both of those teams at this point?
Well, the Tampa concern is that they finally got healthy. All season long, we were hearing about all the injuries, and they get Mike Evans back, they get Jalen McMillan back, and they look like they had their full arsenal of offensive weapons, and they've been awful the last few weeks. This is a team that was 6-2 and had wins in Seattle. A win over the 49ers, a win over the vaunted Texans defense. They were 6-2, and Baker Mayfield was the leader in the MVP conversation. And they have been 1-7 over the last 8 games. Just an awful, awful stretch. So what's going on? The problem is they don't know what's going on because everyone's back healthy and Bucky Irving's on the field. And it's just what happened to this season. And yet you could still make the playoffs as a home playoff team and a division winner. The Panthers, just when you want to celebrate how good this season has been, they'll drop a game. They've beaten teams like the Packers in big spots. They've beaten teams like the Rams in big spots, but they've been swept by the Saints. They have lost to the Falcons. They have had some terrible, terrible games. And last week, with everyone watching, they did not look like a playoff team against the Seattle Seahawks. So whereas you've got Seattle, San Francisco Saturday and 2 teams that everyone's riding high on, you now have this matchup where it's 2 teams that really have not looked great in the last month.
Yeah, the NFC South just such a toss-up right now. Thanks so much, Peter. We'll see you there on ABC and ESPN at 4:30 on Saturday.